Thanks for being with us, Thomas.
Yeah, no worries.
It's always good to have you along.
Yeah.
We thought we'd send a message out to search members and supporters and friends, anyone else who wants to see this video. Quick update on the campaign for Voice to Parliament. We're here on Gadigal land of the Eora people at the MUA building in Sydney. We had a great event with you earlier this month, and lots of people came to that. And thanks again for doing that with us. So we just thought we'd recap, even just start from the absolute very beginning. For those who been living under a rock, what's the Voice to Parliament? Why do we need it? How will it help Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples? How is it different to what we have now?
Yeah, well, first of all, the simple way to describe a voice is it's a representative body. We're all members of unions and have been involved in unions. It's a simple principle of structure with which to practice unity as leverage to get the things that the people need. It's important to think about what has happened to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander representative bodies throughout the history of our struggle, as far back as the 20s, the AAPA, through the Aboriginal Advancement League, the FCATSI, the NAC, to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Commission. Anytime we have organised a structure with which to make decision makers uncomfortable for their failures and their cruelty, they've silenced those voices. So a voice is just re-establishing a representative body for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people so that we can choose our own leaders rather than others choosing them for us, or self-appointed leaders with their own interests that aren't accountable to our people. So it's about re-establishing that, but in a way that puts it out of the reach of hostile governments that always come along. And the only place we can do that is in the Constitution. This call came from an unprecedented process that was well resourced. There was translators, there was information ahead of time, there was intense civics lessons, there was an understanding of the history of our struggle, all the things that we've tried in the past, that culminated in the convention at Uluru that had a unique national Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander endorsement for this call for a constitutionally enshrined voice. So that's the exciting opportunity that we have now with Anthony Albanese as Prime Minister.
And that's the next question. Where's the campaign up to? What phase are we in now?
Well, again, just sort of with an eye to the past, before we talk about the future, for 5 years, we didn't take no for an answer. Search has been invaluable in that campaigning. It was one of the first places that I took the Uluru Statement canvas to when I started to travel with it and build the people's movement. And we built a people's movement that firstly did not allow the coalition to ignore it throughout throughout that 5 years. We forced them basically to take on other processes that consistently pointed to the same thing that we came up with at Uluru, that a majority of Australian people and a majority of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people want a constitutionally enshrined voice as the only form of recognition. We also did a lot of work to convince Labor to support it as strongly as they are. That didn't come without campaigning in itself, without a lot of work to help members of Parliament, to understand the party branches, the conference in late 2018, to help Labor understand that this is the right thing to do and that it is a practical and powerful reform. And so where we are now is Albanese as Prime Minister, has committed to a referendum in this term of Parliament. And that's likely, and not certainly, but likely to be late next year, because you don't want to be too close to the end of the term, and you don't want to run it too soon as well. So maybe late next year, and that's what we have to gear up for as search members.
Yeah, cool. So to that, how will we win the referendum?
Well, we've got to win. We'll win the referendum like we do with all grassroots campaigns. Any campaign worth its, that succeeds goes to the people. We need to be prepared for phone banking, for door knocking, in all of the states that we have search members. I hope that you take the lead, search members take a lead in this. and start to convince people that this is important to take action on, to get active on, and be ready to do that. We have the coalition as well that is open to bipartisanship still. They haven't shut that door. And so anything that can be done to put pressure on the coalition to give bipartisanship is important. I just spoke to the Queensland Teachers Union a couple of days ago and talked to them about mobilising children to send, stuff to Dutton to say, hey, you should support this. Now, I believe he's pretty heartless, but we've got to try, and bipartisanship will be important, not a precondition. Mm-hmm. It's not necessary to winning. Leadership is what's necessary. The hard work that we'll do is necessary, and the fairness and of the question and simplicity of the question is what will win. But as we do in organising, we leave no stone unturned, and we've got to keep trying to convince them all the way.
Yep. And there has the public debate, you might say, has started, after Albo's putting out the question. We've seen far right people on the left, making criticisms and so forth. But from what I understand, very broad support, strong support across Australia, strong support in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities. So, no need. There's always going to be opposition. There's going to be a no campaign, probably led by Pauline Hanson at this stage, it seems. Mm-hmm. But that's, part and parcel. We just keep up the work, right?
Yeah, this is not going to be like 67 where there was no case. Pauline Hanson has already indicated she wants to lead the no case. Well, go for it, knock yourself out, I don't think she has any credibility with most Australians. She barely got across the line this most recent election. And, right now, members might be concerned with the public discourse, the national debate that's going on. I think this is pretty normal. There's still work to be done to nail down the final details. I'm on a referendum working group appointed by Minister Linda Burney and Special Envoy Pat Dodson and the Prime Minister. And it's not a representative group, that group. It's a group of people that have experience and that have worked hard in this space and have the best things to offer as far as helping the government to get it right. And so our first meeting is later this month. Our first official meeting is later this month. So, this public discourse is fine right now. Contribute where you can, comrades, but don't let it demoralize you. As the information, as the detail comes to light, as we nail those things down and shift next year into a full-blown yes campaign with our rainbows, whatever they are, that sort of work is being done right now. With our rainbows everywhere, that's when we'll be much more focused and it'll be much clearer.
Yeah, cool. And you said at the forum that we had, but don't let that stop us doing work right now. So question being, what do we need people to do right now? Register at fromtheheart.com and Uluru Statement.org.
www.fromtheheart.com.au. Yep.
Cool. I'll include that in the email. Talk to local groups, raise it at political party branch meetings, Labor, Greens, whichever party, other parties people are in. Keep on raising it with local MPs and senators you already mentioned, and sign up for advocacy training, things like that. All that sort of stuff.
And especially the Greens, there's a bit of a nonsense that they're running at the moment about treaty and truth-telling coming first, as if, a good agreement ever came before you establish a strong representative body, and as if the truth was, ever enough to get change. It's like in a workplace, the truth is that our labour is, required to produce the goods and deliver the services. That doesn't get us better wages and conditions. A voice does, our unions. So, get in there and talk that logic, make sure that good sense there is drilled in there. And so those sorts of actions continue to be important. Still, a lot of Australians haven't heard about the Uluru Statement. There's still a lot of people in your families or your other networks that are disconnected from this type of thing, have never met an Indigenous person before. So it's important you have conversations with them as I said, you know, students writing letters to the coalition is important right now. That's an action that can be taken immediately. Sharing the words of the Uluru Statement, you know, is still a very powerful thing right now.
Yep.
I think you know, if you're in areas where there isn't a supporter group, like Sydney, there's a great supporter group. Think about establishing those. You know, even if it's by suburb.
Yep.
Start to, you know, build those cells of supporters that can work together and meet regularly. You know, and that's going to be important, especially when we come to door knocking and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Get it going. And I'm sure we can help provide materials or whatever. We can source stuff from wherever.
Yeah, we're bringing on resources into the campaign now. We've got Cara Keys, you know, from the union movement. She's a deputy director. Paul Murphy as well, deputy director of From the Heart. And so we're starting to get the capacity to, you know, give greater assistance to supporter groups and their activities. And so, you know, yeah, just communicate those with me and I'll hook people up.
Sweet as. And we'll have another search event in December, which we'll tell everyone about in upcoming emails and so forth. But for now, thanks a million.
Thanks.